Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately called IPA-USA. IPA-USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. As part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced Porch Play Chats. And joining me on the porch today is Dr. Edward Klugman. Dr. Klugman has been in the field of early childhood education for more than 60 years. He is a professor emeritus at Wheelock College, where he helped to establish the Intergenerational Studies master's degree. And today we're going to talk about energy. And so Dr. Klugman has been doing some work around the world with children and energy. And he talks about how we live in this amazing country of the United States and how sharing our understanding and knowledge and investigating what other countries are doing is really important. So there you have it. Welcome, Dr. Klugman.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. I also love what you're doing. You keep it in the neighborhood by being a back porch.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
important. It's a concept that others should follow because it's our backyard that we need to visit and revisit. It changes every day, particularly with the pandemic that we had to face and are facing. Things change radically, and they change from day to day. For the immediate environment and the larger environment. And so I always like to think about energy, because each of you who are listeners and participants have energy. If you think about it right now. You came with energy. Even though you may be sitting on the back porch, don't forget that what brought you here. Don't forget that you're breathing, that you're thinking, that you may be friends, you may be sweethearts. It's a variety of energy exchange that occurs on an ongoing basis, depending on your work site, depending on your neighborhood, depending on whether you have children, whether you have relatives nearby. And we think of it very separately. And we don't understand that we each bring gifts to the setting. Why don't we call them gifts? They're gifts that you are here, that you're here and alive, and that you are a participant. We don't call you a gift participant, but that's what it is. And we never point out to each other what the gifts are that you bring with you to the setting. So I'd love to have you turn to your neighbor and find one gift, either the person that you know or what the person might wear. Just think a minute and take a look at each other and see what gift is sitting right next to you, and see whether you can identify one or two gifts that that person has brought to the setting today. Jenny is sitting next to me, and she reminded me that I'm disorganized, but I organized myself. And thank you for pointing out and giving us an hour to prepare for this session.
Mhm. So, Dr. Klugman, sometimes I tell, especially when I see gifted teachers, right? I see teachers who are gifts to children. And because they're kind and they're supportive and they listen to the children and they respond to the children and they provide an amazing amount of activities and materials that children can play with. And when I ask them, when I tell them you're a gift to children, they will sometimes say, no, the children are gifts to me. And so I think that that is a beautiful partnership, right? When the teacher sees children, each individual one, as a gift that comes into the classroom every day, and that observers, like when I was observing, can see this teacher and see the beautiful relationship between them and be able to describe this teacher as a gift back to children. And so that exchange of energy, right, between the children and the teachers and the teacher and the children sets up this beautiful environment where children are just thriving because of the relationships and because of the opportunities that they're given for playful learning. So what do you think about that? How does that sort of impact your thinking about the gifts that each of us brings with us?
If we point it out to each other, it becomes part of life.
Mm.
And if we don't even mention it, we are missing out.
Mm-hmm.
All of us are missing out. Just thinking about what the beauty is in each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always reminded of two infants hugging each other
Mm-hmm.
and learning that from each other,
Mm-hmm.
but having learned it in their classroom, that
Mm-hmm.
that is possible to
Mm-hmm.
hug each other and show how much you appreciate one another.
Mhm.
And if an adult points it out, it becomes part of the scenery,
Mhm.
not just the scenery, but in action.
Mhm.
And it is the action that we are looking for. And when I think of energy, I think of it asking people, what energy is around here? And begin to include the energy that individuals bring.
Mhm.
New shoes, new bow ties,
Mhm.
new shirt, a new way of thinking
Mhm.
about one another, making discoveries and uncover
Mhm.
things instead of covering them, uncover,
Mhm.
and perhaps make that a possibility. Have you uncovered anything today? What have you uncovered
Mhm.
about each other? And making sure that the positive gets heard rather than the negative,
Mhm.
and pointing to the constructive aspects that an environment provides automatically. Just
Mhm.
the fact that there's a room that we can be in together, that we have bathrooms, sitting rooms, tables, and how they function in the environment. I think we forget that there are indigenous resources wherever we find ourselves.
Mhm.
And it's the indigenous that we leave out.
Mhm.
We, for example, are aware of the fact that each of us bring energy with us. It's automatic, and you could uncover something about the energy you bring.
Mhm.
And when you are outdoors, you have one kind of energy. When you're indoors, you have other kind of energy. And together, when we put two people's energy together, it becomes different.
Mhm.
And when you have three people or three children, that energy also is different. And
And
so,
so when I think about this, Dr. Klugman, I'm thinking about the energy that the teacher walks into the classroom with in the morning, and how, and it depends, right? I remember directors always saying when I was a teacher, you leave your personal stuff at the door. Well, that's really not possible for a lot of people. But being aware of the energy that you're bringing into the classroom every day, what I found when I was a director is if I had had a rough night or if I was worried about something and I would come to work, teachers could feel that in me and it disrupted their day. They would be concerned and they would say, "Are you okay?" And I'd say, "Oh, I didn't sleep well last night," or blah, 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 blah. And they would say, "Are you mad at me?" And I was like, am I mad at you? No, I'm not mad at you. And why do you think I'm mad at you? Well, you just feel different today. And I said, "Oh, well, there's something going on and I'm trying to deal with it. It's nothing to do with work." But it was that energy that they were picking up that I had no intention of sharing, right? That wasn't, I didn't mean to make people think I was mad at them. But the same thing happens to children when we walk in the classroom with different levels of energy. And some of it's positive energy and sometimes it's not so positive energy. Or when we walk into a classroom and there are some children that are the children who, give us back this positive energy. And so we're sharing this back and forth. And then some children who may not have had that experience and it becomes a negative cycle, right? So the teacher shares negative energy through interactions or through their I don't want to say attitude, but due to their presence because of this one child or two children. And then that child picks up on it and shares it right back. And it's not a positive exchange. It's more of a negative exchange that continues to deepen those feelings that are not so great. So here's an example. I was in a classroom observing, and it was a teacher was greeting children at the door, and she would say, "Oh, good morning, Sarah. How was your weekend?" Blah 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 blah. And then, um, uh, "Billy, how was your weekend?" "Oh, it's so great to see you. I'm so glad you're here today." And she went through probably 15 children doing this, and then Johnny came to the door, and she said, "Good morning, Johnny." That was it. That's all she said. And I could just see Johnny's face because he'd heard her have this positive exchange with every other child that had come before him. And all she said to him was, "Good morning, Johnny." And I could see, because I stayed in the classroom a couple of hours, I could see the way he internalized that negative energy and how that influenced his behavior for the whole day. And so I'm not sure teachers are aware of how the energy that they bring to the classroom and the energy that they express or share with students can really create a positive relationship or a not so positive relationship. And I think that happens with adults too.
Well, there could also be a circle time when you go around a circle
Mm-hmm.
and you hear each other out
Mm-hmm.
so that other models come to fore and you can integrate it into your own way of thinking about yourself.
Mhm.
And the circle time or a get together time is a good time to share some of the positive
Mhm.
that you've experienced yesterday.
Mhm.
And you went home and bring it with you and share it.
Mhm.
So that bring us some new energy that we could examine or could hear about that you have discovered and are willing to share with others
Mhm.
so that there's a time when energy is perceived as something everyone has
Mhm.
common. And it would be kind of fun to hear some of that energy. Doesn't have to be all, but a few samplings would be helpful.
Well, and I think it's the sharing of more positive things, even though we do need to talk about the things that are not so positive sometimes. But if we can change the mindset and the energy, just talk about sorry, what's going well instead of what's not going well, so that we're having a more positive mindset, which improves our energy in a more positive direction. And if we can exchange that energy that's more positive with other people, just like the the infants that were hugging themselves, they had obviously been hugged in their short lives. And so they were wanting to share that experience with another child. Then that positive energy exchange is going to help build a positive relationship, right? If I want to be hugged and I feel like hugging and I want to show empathy or kindness if someone maybe have fallen and or something. If we allow children those opportunities to have these reciprocal shared experiences that have been modeled or that they're imitating, woo, I think we'd have a different world, Dr. Klugman. I think our world would be more kind. What do you think?
Well, we are magnetized to go for the negative
Mhm.
instead of the positive. And
Mhm.
turning it, you just turned it around,
Mhm.
magnetize it the other way. And global healing
Mhm.
starts not at the end of life, but
Mhm.
global healing starts at birth rather
Mhm.
than at the end of life. And if it is part of everyday living, we suddenly become much more aware of the totality of the neighborhood
Mhm.
and start with the neighborhood and what and point out to each other some of the positive things that are happening right where we are. Plant life, tree life, flower life, animal life,
Mhm.
people life, and point to the needs of each of these items we suddenly see
Mm.
and aware or becoming aware of it, that you could make a drawing on a pavement and change what the pavement looks like the next day,
Mm.
or perhaps draw a mural on a wall
Mm.
and add to the mural and take away from the mural,
Mm.
so that the changes occur and are becoming part of the environmental change
Mm.
taking place by people and respecting the change that they bring to the setting.
Boy, I think that's so true, Dr. Klugman. And I loved how you said it, it really starts at birth, right? We come into this world with energy, and that our experiences are going to shape us. But if we can come into it with this, if they have good models that demonstrate how you can have good energy versus negative energy, and you can handle your problems instead of just holding them all inside, or you can seek help as you get older if you've had some bad experiences to help alleviate all that stress and pressure that you have inside because of those experiences, then I will have a much healthier and happier world, especially if we value what is around us. You know, the trees and the plants and the animals and the people that are around us. So I think there's a big lesson in that.
The other thing I learned in Afghanistan, the buildings were mud buildings. And because they were mud, murals could be painted on the mud.
Mm.
They could also make mud blocks and build with the mud right in their own setting.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly they became builders
Mm-hmm.
and makers of mud, but they could also make playgrounds
Mm.
and add to the playgrounds beauty, add to the playgrounds plant life,
Mm-hmm.
add to the playgrounds things they brought from home,
Mm-hmm.
and take tours of the playground and how they have changed or are changing,
Mm-hmm.
And the changes are made by the players themselves,
Mhm.
adding, subtracting, going up, going down.
Mhm.
They all take on new meanings. But it's your playground that you have built
Mhm.
rather than someone coming to make it for
Mhm.
you. And the additions become wonders of the playground.
Right, and outlets for imagination, right? Because they're constructing it based on their own imagination and creativity versus having a static playground that's been placed there for them. And that, that's the beauty of just allowing children to explore in nature. That is a playground, but instead we feel like we have to keep them, of course, we have to keep them safe, but we limit that exploration and discovery because, we have to make sure that they're protected, I guess. And of course we want to protect them. But I think we're limiting their creativity and their discovery because of that overprotection. And so we give them these playgrounds, which, if you don't have anything else, okay, but allow children to contribute to the playground, I guess, is what we should be encouraging them to do. What else could we do? What else would you like to see on the playground? How can we do this?
Now,
So I go ahead.
now imagine having a center right next door to a senior center,
Mhm.
and suddenly invite intergenerational activities
Mhm.
as an add-on for both seniors and children.
Oh, yes. There was a fabulous intergenerational center in Colorado Springs where I lived for 25 years. And it was a huge success with children who may, since we live in such a transitory society, children may not have experiences regularly with grandparents. And then because we live in this mobile society, grandparents who are in the senior centers may not always have access to their grandchildren as much as they would like. And it was a beautiful reciprocal relationship. And, the seniors who wanted to participate in the child development program were welcomed in, and the children were welcomed into the senior center. And it was a beautiful exchange of energy as well as relationships. So we've talked about a lot of energy sharing, Dr. Klugman, and I think it's probably time to close up. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to talk about before we end our porch play chat today?
Yeah. Well, I like to point out a playground in Ghana
Mm.
where the children come with lots of energy and the new type of battery, lithium batteries. One can store their energy in batteries, which is what they have done in Ghana. And they have lanterns that they take home with them so that they have light at night to study by light. And I've learned that their energy was transferred, and it's their energy
Mm-hmm.
that made it possible that they could take a lantern home, bring it back, put it on the playground, and create a merry-go-round where they can store their energy in these lithium batteries.
And so Dr. Klugman, he has sent me an article about that. And it is fascinating where you have children playing on the playground on this merry-go-round. And I mean, you know what children look like on a merry-go-round. They're running. And then all that energy that they're outputting is charging these lithium batteries that they then are able to take home with them at night for light in their homes, which is truly, I mean, just imagine what we could do to save the planet if we had those things in parks with children and energy already playing and moving around, and we could store some of that energy to help us in the environment. Would just be fascinating. That was a very smart thing that happened in Ghana.
Well, there's a place called Tamera in southern Portugal
Mm-hmm.
that practices that for the last 50 years. And we have not heard of them before.
Mm-mm.
And but they started out at the University of Freiburg in Germany
Mm-hmm.
as in the 60s, and had a little colony of students live in a what they called the Blue Cottage, and they had their own housing, their own electricity that they produced through solar energy.
Mm.
And they took that with them to southern Portugal and began to capture the rainwater,
Oh.
making dikes and using the rainwater to make lakes, so that it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
It's rethinking what indigenous resources we have in our own environment,
Mm-hmm.
like rocks,
Mm-hmm.
could be tumbled and made into beautiful aesthetic kinds of art. We could also find other materials like leaves
Mhm,
in the fall
mhm,
and take them and make prints,
mhm.
leaf prints, so that the environment we live in can become a resource center
Mhm.
if we think of it in those terms,
Mhm.
rather than just waste. It
I
could,
agree. I agree with you, Dr. Klugman. We don't take advantage of the environment around us enough. You know, when we got garage door openers, we don't necessarily sit on the front porch to talk to neighbors anymore, right? Because we just pull into the garage and close the door and go into our house and we're in our bubble. And so I do think that especially in the United States, when we're working really long hours, their families are exhausted when they get home. There's not much opportunity to take advantage of what is around them in many cases. So I agree with you. I think that's something we should be rethinking about. And I like all the commercials, the public service announcement about the forests, where come to the forest, because that's a wonderful playground for you. Come to the forest. So I'm going to close this up, Dr. Klugman. So give me just a minute, but don't go away. So to hear more Porch Play Chats,
oh, I love being with you, and thank you for having me.
it's so good to see you. You have so much to share. So if you'd like to hear more Porch Play Chats, go to IPA-USA.org. And up in that top right-hand corner is the link to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. One Porch Play Chat is released every Monday. So until next time, keep on playing.
I want to mention this.
Oh, let's do that. Yep. Healthy 100. So what is healthy at 100? Ooh, I like that title.
You see, many centenarians
Mhm.
live in your own neighborhood
Mhm.
who are ready to share their stories
Mhm.
and would appreciate participating in different ways.
Mhm.
They
So
know,
this is
they know
health.
how to play dominoes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So the book is Healthy at 100 by John Robbins. So I'll put that in the Porch Play Chat too. All right. Until next time.